Welcome back to another episode of Pinal's People. We have two special guests that will be featured in this episode. Our first is Richard Rosales, who has been selected as the Grand Marshal for Eloy's Fiestas Patrias celebration. Richard, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So to start off with, I know your mother, Mary Lou, has had a long history of serving on the committee for Fiestas, and that many of your family members, including your grandfather, have also been a part of putting on the event over the decades. What was it like for you growing up in a home where this legacy of honoring where there was this legacy of honoring the Hispanic culture and heritage?
Yeah, ever since I was a kid, I remember the fiestas being in Eloy and my mom being a part of at that time it was the Junta Partotica. And so every September, mid-September, I knew there were going to be long days, but there were going to be fun days. And it was great to grow up in a household with lots of the culture. My grandparents emigrated here from Mexico, and, just knowing about the history of our ancestors and the celebrations that took place. And so it was nice to see that culture and heritage continue in Eloy, and now I'm glad they brought it back, because it subsided for a little while. The fiestas were like the big event. We had also had the Eloy Grand Prix, which was the other big event in Eloy, and we always looked forward to it. And it was an amazing experience to experience the culture that my family had, and the good food, and family and friends and everything that we experienced. I also played in the mariachis growing up, ever since I could play the trumpet all the way up till I graduated from high school. So that was another aspect of that culture that we participated in at the church, and then also at the fiesta. So It was great. My mom had a painting of it's called the kiosco. We call it the kiosco, but it's the kiosk in the center of town. And it was a painting of that with the fiestas all around. And it was done by an artist named Covarrubias. He's still around. He's in the valley, in the Phoenix area. And that it was done, and it was always hung in our apartment. My mom was a single mom. We lived in an apartment, and it took up a big chunk of the wall. So that always reminded me of that day and that weekend, actually. So it's still around. I think my mom has it in her office or around somewheres, but it's a great memento that reminds me of childhood and all the culture at the fiestas.
So what would you say is your favorite part of the fiestas?
My favorite part of the fiestas, I guess it's just the gathering of folks, and sharing in the different types of food that's available there. The camaraderie, the music, the atmosphere, and it's just great to be back and see everybody in one location, right? And everybody interacting and enjoying themselves, and just participating in the culture and the music and everything that goes along with it.
Yeah. So, you've been selected as the Grand Marshal for this year's event. I'd love to know, what's that honor mean to you, having grown up seeing the fiestas, being a part of it, seeing your family being a part of it? What does it mean to you to be selected as the Grand Marshal?
It means a great deal to me. I was honored to receive the call from the committee to let me know. As you know, I grew up in Eloy, so coming back and just being honored is a great joy, because again, it goes back to my childhood and knowing about the fiestas, going all the way back to the 80s, right? Or the late 70s, early 80s when they started. So it's an honor. I mean, my mom has been a part of the fiestas for a long time, and so I've seen all the grand marshals that they've had. The queens, they used to have the queens, the fiesta queens, and so it's just an honor to be back and be a part of it. I was selected for my community involvement, and I'm president of the Eloy Chamber. I'm also president of Casa Grande Main Street Board, and just some other organizations, Kiwanis and Achieve Pinal Committee, and all these different organizations. But just, I think what they mentioned in the application was my work for the community during the big power outage that we had. It was a major, massive storm that came and knocked out 3 of our substations. And so, the multi-day outage, and then my involvement in just getting all the resources and the support for the community side. And so it's an honor for me because I was just doing my job. With APS is a big, strong community partner. They support the communities that they serve. So it was just an honor for them recognizing me for just doing something that I love to do, right? Mm-hmm. And that's why I'm honored to be, and to go back to Eloy and represent and be the Grand Marshal is just, it's going to be a blast, and I'm excited.
Yeah. They wanted to take a minute to recognize you and talk about your service here in Pinal County, because you are a member of several boards, and you've served on a multitude across the county. You've also done a lot through your role with APS, as you mentioned, not only through just doing your job, but also you've taken a lot of initiative to do a lot of philanthropic work as well and give back to local organizations. And as somebody who grew up in this area and then has the opportunity to sort of be in the position you're in, I'm curious, I would love to know a little bit more about your personal story and what's motivated you to remain so involved in the community.
So I had a great example early on. My mom, right? She's been a strong community member in this area for many, many years, my whole life actually. So seeing her involved with CYO, which is the Catholic Youth Organization, ever since I was a kid, being part of CARA for many, many years and helping out. So that's a great example for me growing up, that to see what service to the community means. Being a servant leader, right, is what she is, and what showed me what it's all about. And so that's my biggest reason for doing a lot of what I do. But it also ties back into my current position with APS. Our title has changed, like my shirt says Community Affairs, but now we're Public Affairs, and but it's the same thing. It's just being out and the face of APS for those communities that we serve. And if there's any issues in the community, they call me. I always still provide outage communications and all that. But just it's growing up in a household that has a servant leader, which is my mom, and all that involvement, falls back to that, and giving back to the community is important in my family and in now my work with APS. And it's a great feeling knowing that I was raised even by a single parent, right, who was busy all the time, but it took everyone in our community to help raise me, I say, because I have like 3 or 4 different moms who, when my mom was busy doing something, they'd come and step up and help with whatever, So it was just, it's an amazing feeling, and that's one of the other reasons, just knowing that when a community comes together to raise a child, then that child wants to give back, and that's what it is all about.
Yeah, I love that. That's beautiful.
Yeah, thanks.
So, of course, when we're talking about Fiestas, we're talking about something that's been a part of the community for well over 50 years now, I believe. Mm-hmm. What do you hope that younger generations in Eloy, or even, from across Pinal County that go to the event, take away from seeing and participating and attending the Fiestas? What do you hope they learn?
I hope the younger generation learns to continue the culture and the heritage, to continue that, right? That it's an important part of their history, it's an important part of their family, and I would hope that they see that, they accept it, and then they continue. And so that's one of the biggest issues in our area, is to find younger leaders to get involved in those things, right? And if you look at some of the service organizations that I'm involved with, or just in general, it's an aging population, and we struggle to get the younger generation involved so they can continue that. And so I'm hoping that they accept it, they run with it, and they continue to give back and serve the community. So calling on all the young people to get out there and get involved and continue what these generations have been doing for, like you said, 50 years
Yeah.
or more.
Yeah.
So.
And actually, I'm glad you brought that up. So last question here. Of course, Fiestas comes at the very beginning of Spanish Heritage Month. And, what I'm curious, what message would you, as we enter this time of Spanish Heritage Month, what message would you give to others in this community about the importance of recognizing a month like this and kind of, like you said, carrying on that torch of valuing your culture and your heritage?
Yeah, the importance, I would say, is that, it's a cliche, but the United States is a melting pot. It's immigrants who've come here for a better life, and that's exactly what is still going on with all of the people coming into the United States. All they want to do is seek a better life in this country to improve their family status. And so I would say that if you don't understand the Hispanic or Mexican culture, please come to the Fiestas and participate and see what it's all about and get a better understanding because it's just an important part of our culture and the United States culture to accept everyone. And so this is not by any means a political statement on immigration or border policy or anything else. It's just the culture in general that we want to share and we want people to understand, and not just the Hispanic culture, the Mexican culture, but everyone's culture, right? And so I would say it'd be nice if we had different types of these fiestas events for other cultures as well. I know that there's opportunities out there. We need to explore that more so that we're more accepting of everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Richard. I really loved having you on.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us for part 2 of this Pinal's People episode. Today we are talking about the annual celebration held in Eloy to commemorate Mexican Independence Day and celebrate Hispanic culture. Our second guest today is Mary Lou Rosales, who's been a part of putting on this incredible event in Eloy for more than 50 years. Fiestas Patrias is one of the biggest events in the area that kicks off at the start of Hispanic Heritage Month. This year's celebration will be hosted in Eloy's Central Main Street Park on September 16th and 17th. Mary Lou, welcome, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Let me ask you, I'm curious, because of course you mentioned your father was a big part of organizing the original event out in Eloy. And so, between that and your own time in Eloy, I'm curious, what first sparked your interest in getting involved in the community that organizes?
I think, of course, my family, but I think too, just wanting to continue traditions and the feeling of, listening to that Mexican music, watching ballet folkloric dancers, and just the gathering of the community. Mm-hmm. And it just felt good. It just felt like it really, I was to do that. I was meant to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But now we have a new group, and as you know, they started in 2001, and it's community leaders. They decided to form the organization to promote the rich culture and improve image of Eloy, and the group is now Corazón de Latinos Unidos.
Yeah.
And the fiestas were reborn, mm-hmm. and started 2001. Are still taking place. So successful again. Tony Loroña Carlton's been a president. Nori Burwell has been a president. Gracie Lopez is now our new president.
I mean, and what's that like for you too? Is getting to see, younger generations, like you said, taking that pride in where they come from, where their ancestors come from, and wanting to celebrate that. How does that make you feel?
Proud, inspired, because and comfortable, because I know they feel what I feel and felt, and it makes me teary-eyed, because it's going to continue.
Yeah.
Without us old-timers, it's going to continue.
Yeah.
Because they want to. And I think while they're planning, and we've seen new ways that some of the activities can be done, but also they're learning. They're learning, which is really super.
Yeah, that makes sense. So of course this year too, I believe, is probably a little special for you as well, because, and I know you weren't part of making this decision. I've heard from the grapevine, but your son Richard has been selected as the Grand Marshal. What went through your mind when you first heard that?
What a great nomination. And there's so many people that have been Grand Marshals, and when he was nominated, I said, "Oh, I remember I didn't have anything to do with this." in case he thought I did, but I think well deserved. He loves Eloy as much as I do, and we want good things to happen in Eloy, and I know that he's taken on, working with the chamber, president of the chamber board, and things are going to happen. The good things are going to happen in Eloy.
Yeah. Of course, as you mentioned, I can see that love that both you and Richard have, and it's not just Fiestas, right? It's not just Fiestas that you've been a part of organizing. You have a long track record of being heavily involved in this community across Pinal County, and prioritizing giving back. And one thing I would love to kind of get some insight from you, Mary Lou, about is what would you say inspires you to do that, to give back in this way?
I think, again, my parents. My dad was one of the people back then that built the church in Eloy, St. Alan's Catholic Church. And so we would see the activity going on, and the women would feed the men, and just seeing all that taking place, and playing around them, just being there, really. I think that's one of the largest inspiration. And then also knowing such a need in Eloy, and throughout Pinal County, such a need in helping people become self-sufficient, giving them what tools that they need, and giving them I guess some hope as well along the way.
Yeah. And so kind of switching gears here, even from your time growing up or nowadays, what would you say is your favorite part of the Fiesta celebration?
Oh gosh, let's see. I could say the food, but I think it's more the talent of the young people dancing ballet folkloric dances, the talent of the mariachis and their instruments and their singing, bringing songs that we grew up with, and then probably also hearing Olivia Calderon one of our own homegrown performers, it just gives you chills, just listening to her. And so I think that's just showcasing their talent.
Yeah. And why do you think an event like Fiestas has had such a long-lasting legacy in Eloy?
I think because, people enjoy it. People enjoy it. I know that when we didn't have the Fiestas during COVID, people missed it.
Yeah.
And they would tell us. And by their attendance, it demonstrates that they want to have something like the Fiestas. And so it's really, I think it's something that we should continue. And as well as other events, Eloy is so known for their 4th of July activities, for Halloween, for just everything they do. It's for the people.
Yeah, absolutely. And what do you wish more people knew about this event in Eloy?
I think what I wish they would really know that it's not as much celebrating way back then, 212 years ago, there was the independence from Spain, but that we're not celebrating anything different because we're in the United States. What we're mostly celebrating is the culture, the traditions. So we really appreciate that they are that they're here to come into Eloy and celebrate the Fiestas.
Yeah, absolutely. And so one last question, Mary Lou. What would you say to younger generations, or let me rephrase this, what would you hope that younger generations who see and participate and get to witness the Fiestas in Eloy, what do you hope they take away from that?
I would hope that they would want to become a part of the Fiestas, whether it's in the planning or volunteering days up to decorate, or joining a mariachi group. There's a mariachi group at the high school in Eloy with the ballet folkloric. Just wanting to continue that feeling, that pride that you get while you're there. That's what I hope, and that it continues for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Mary Lou.
Thank you.
I appreciate having you on.
Oh, thank you for having me, and thank you for wanting to publicize this wonderful event.